We have all been there on a Monday morning, staring at Cursor or Windsurf, hoping it will just handle the heavy lifting for us. But look at the top left of the infographic. When you prompt an assistant without giving it the full picture of your code base, it has to guess. It sees a blank slate, so it throws out code for the wrong framework version entirely. You ask it to spin up a quick component and it confidently hands you an install command for React 16. When the rest of your team transitioned the entire repository to version 18 months ago, you do not catch it immediately, you hit save, and suddenly your local build is screaming with dependency errors. Now, trace this from left to right into the middle panel. Because the problem compounds, it is not just about versions, it is the sheer volume of deprecated patterns it feeds you. You think you are saving time by copying and pasting a massive chunk of a single file into the chat box, assuming that is enough context for it to be thorough, but it is not. You are actually just getting expensive autocomplete without knowing the broader architecture. It suggests outdated lifecycle methods or anti-patterns that your team explicitly banned in the linting rules 2 years ago. You end up trapped in this exhausting cycle of manual refactoring and modernization, clean coding the very code your assistant just generated. Follow the path further to the right panel, where the structural disconnect becomes painfully obvious. The tool suggests a perfectly valid file layout for a generic project, but it completely clashes with your actual team repository structure. It places a utility file in a nested directory that does not exist or uses an export pattern that breaks your custom build pipeline. So now you are manually moving files around, fixing broken import paths, and realizing that the trust gap is widening. Every suggestion feels like a gamble. That brings us down to that label at the bottom with the rising bar chart. This is the hidden manual cost of a contextless tool. We think we are moving faster, but when you add up the wasted review cycles, the broken builds, and the constant context switching just to fix the assistant's mistakes, the time spent is staggering. We are fighting the tool instead of building the feature. And the worst part is, the root cause of this entire mess is a silent mistake most engineers make before they even write a single line of code. It is not that the AI gives you code that does not compile. That is a solvable problem. It is this moment right here, on the right side of the screen, where it confidently recommends a complex architectural pattern that uses an older data layer. We spent 3 months ripping out of the product last quarter. It is plausible code that is what makes it so dangerous. And your junior engineer on the left looking at the screen cannot always tell the difference between the modern solution and the legacy one. Because the AI just pulled it from the files it can see. It is that lost productivity metric we see on the visual. We are not saving time anymore. We are just creating technical debt with extra steps. Now trace that effect to the middle of the graphic. This is where it really hurts during a sprint. You have got a complex feature that needs to follow a strict multi-layered pattern. But look at that column on the right, showing the repeating PR feedback loop. The engineer submits their pull request, and it is kicked back because the AI didn't see our custom dependency injection logic. The engineer then uses the same AI to refactor the broken code, and it submits the same structural violation again. It has happened to all of us. We see the same flaw, the same violation in the same review cycle, sometimes 3 times in a row. It feels like you're fighting the tool instead of building the feature. Even a simple refactor turns toxic. Look down to the migration task labeled migration task. Upgrade to new API. We are trying to swap from the old V1 client to the new V2, which only exists in 10% of the code base. You ask your assistant to rewrite the endpoint, and it helpfully suggests the deprecated V1 pattern. Why? Look closely. Because the contextless AI sees V1 in 900 files and V2 in 90, so it logic checks that V1 must be the dominant standard for our repository. It doesn't know our architectural goals, it just counts files. And the final cost, check the box at the bottom. That is when our entire team velocity hits the wall. Now, we have arrived at the configuration engine itself. Follow the 4 files along the top of the workflow. This is how we take back control. These 4 configuration files are the blueprint our team maintains in the repository. defining exactly how every AI tool must operate. Look first at the top left under cursor rules. This file is critical. It defines our cursor IDE, context budget, and it is a massive 200,000 tokens. You can see the fields listed here. We define exactly which directories are indexed and crucially which specific patterns are current and allowed and which are deprecated. This stops cursor from hallucinating old legacy code and forces it to suggest the correct architecture for this exact code base. Follow the path just below it to .windsurfrules for Windsurf. This file does two jobs simultaneously, and this is where it gets interesting. It tells Windsurf which patterns to use right now for code generation, reinforcing clean architecture as seen here, but it also seeds the memory system. It defines what to reinforce over the next 48 hours of team use. So the counterintuitive part is the .windsurfrules file is the only AI configuration that gets smarter. The longer your team uses it in this code base, it is building a memory map of our specific implementation patterns. Now move down to the third file, CLAUDE.md for Claude Code. This config defines the actual security perimeter. As you can see by the list, we control the context hooks, access permissions, exactly which bash commands are allowed, limiting it to safe operations and tool configuration. It is about balancing automation with trust. And finally, trace the path to the bottom file for web-based tools and the system prompts that govern them, defining roles like expert developer or security auditor. Look at how all four of these configuration files flow right into the central box labeled Central Team Repository Gate and the initial step of defining team standards. This is not just automation, it is governance. Each field you see listed under these files is essential for a context-aware workflow. We define it once and the configuration propagates to the entire team. But how do we enforce this so it is not just one person writing config files? Well, that is how we make it a team standard. Look at the top left under step 1 where it says version control and central configuration. This is where most engineering teams trip up. They treat their AI configuration files like personal preferences or global shell setups. But doing that means you end up with 10 different developers using Cursor or Windsurf with 10 completely different interpretations of the system architecture. The counterintuitive realization is that your AI rules are not personal shortcuts, they are a shared team standard. Exactly like your test suite or your linting configurations, we check them right into the Git repository alongside our application code so that the exact same rule set is version distributed and enforced for every single person on the team. Follow the path to the right into step 2 where we see pull requests and stack reviews. Because these rules live in the repository, they evolve organically whenever our technology stack changes. If we upgrade a core framework, deprecate an internal API, or introduce a new routing mechanism, updating the .cursorrules or .windsurfrules file is a mandatory part of that exact same pull request. The team reviews the updated AI configuration guidelines during the standard review cycle, preventing context drift before it can break anyone else's local environment. It turns AI prompt engineering from an isolated experiment into a formal code review practice. Now cast your eyes down to the bottom section covering engineering, onboarding, and unified context. When a new engineer joins the team, they do not spend their first week trying to figure out our architectural patterns through trial and error. Look at the onboarding checklist on the right side. Downloading the team's shared configuration files is built right into the day one developer environment setup. By the time they pull down the main branch, their local cursor instance instantly reads the repository guidelines and points at the exact same codebase context from their very first commit. It completely eliminates the onboarding friction, turning a junior developer or a new hire into an integrated contributor immediately. And managing this entire workflow does more than just save time on features. It changes the way you stand out as an engineer. Now we are looking at the concrete career output difference represented by the two columns side by side on this final graphic. Follow the gap in the center and move first to the left panel, which shows the engineer who configures AI for their code base. This person has superior judgment. Why? Look at the first box. Their pull requests pass code review on the first try because their assistant is context aware and only suggests code that already matches our existing multi-layered architecture. They do not fight with deprecated patterns, and when you read their performance review at the bottom, they look like a strategic leader. They aren't just writing code faster, they have designed a context aware system for their engineering team. Compare that to the column on the right, the engineer who does not configure their AI. Look at their top box, they are stuck in this exhausting rework loop. Their pull requests are constantly rejected for structural violations, using the wrong database client or violating an import rule that a 5-minute setup for .cursorrules or .windsurfrules would have prevented. Their performance review reads as a reactive engineer who generates messy boilerplate. Where this really comes to life is in a professional setting, shown in the interview sections at the bottom. Most software engineers, when asked in an interview how they work with AI tools, give that junior level answer you see on the right. I use it for autocomplete and boilerplate. That answer tells an interviewer absolutely nothing about your technical process. A candidate who gives the senior level answer on the left, I defined project level rules, standards, and architecture for my AI, making it context aware, is describing a professional systematic AI strategy that sets them apart immediately. Here is the final pattern interrupt. A software engineer who can describe exactly which config files they maintain for their tools and which fields they tune is describing professional governance. A software engineer who pastes code into a chat box is engaging in wishful thinking. AI without codebase configuration is expensive, autocomplete. AI with it is a context-aware junior engineer who has already read and memorized your entire repository. If you're serious about building a professional AI workflow, subscribe for weekly analysis on professional engineering tooling and check the description for our next video. AI autocomplete done right. Why the engineers with the highest tab acceptance rates are often producing the worst code.